Namaskar to all of you. So let's begin with a few seconds of silence. And in silence, we just observe our breath for a few seconds and then in gather. So then we will have a beautiful session contemplated. Oh. So when we talk about Sanatana Dharma, we have many fabulous stories which depict many aspects of Sanatana Dharma in a very simpler manner, which help us understanding the deeper, profounder truths of this Sanatana Dharma in a better way. There are stories where you have many characters, many symbols are used, and many stories have got deeper significance, truly deeper significance. Without understanding the deeper symbolism of many stories, especially which depict the salient features of Sanatana Dharma, it's not possible to evaluate the value of our Dharma without diving deep into these events, characters, and many other aspects. So that's something which I wanted to share right in the beginning, that our stories have got a deeper significance. Whether we have the story of Dasha Avatar, the 10 incarnations, whether we have the story of Mahishasura Mardini, Durga Devi, the death of Mahishasura, whether we have the story of the Daivasura Sangrama, the fight between Devas and Asuras, or we have this beautiful story called Samudra Manthan, the churning of the ocean. And Samudra Manthan, this story is so deep that anyone coming from any stream, any branch of knowledge, any walk of life, finds something very practical in this story. Because who can proceed in life without the manthan? The word manthan itself is so profound. It is the manthan which helps us to evaluate ourselves, to evaluate the world, and then take a decision how to proceed, what to do, what not to do. And all those who do not do the manthan, they're stagnant. There's no progress without manthan. When such periods come, where there is only stagnation, where there is no power, no possibility of making any progress, all creativity gone, all energy gone. It's a kind of dark period where one needs rejuvenation. One needs to renew one's energy, renew oneself, renew one's own energy, inner energy. So Manthan is the way. And it thus happened that because of a curse, and all of you who are participating here must have studied this Samudra Manthan story and various versions which are available. And the original versions of this story are to be found in the Mahabharata, Adi Parva, in Bhagavatam, in Vishnu Purana. But each version has some difference. There are variations in these versions. And based on these variations, people also interpret it differently and explain it in different ways suitable to one's own plan and program or what one wants to convey. But this is fine because all deeper symbolic stories, they have that potential to be manipulated. So you have various versions, which is interesting. Every version is adding some beauty, some value, something new. This is how the innovation happens, improvisation happens. Yes, if it, that we find in the different stories depicted in different shastras, they keep adding new insights into the story. Now, one of the versions which says, like this is from Bhagavatam, that Durvasa was moving with a garland of flowers which he had received. And on the way, he found Indra sitting on his Airavata coming. And then he thought Indra being the god of gods, so he deserves to be offered this garland. So he threw it to Indra. And what Indra did, Indra thought, I have this Airavata, this garland should adorn my Airavata. So he threw it around the neck of Airavata. And Airavata was not happy or happy, very difficult to say, but the smell, the fragrance of that, the intense fragrance of that flower in the garland, which either irritated Airavata or he was overwhelmed. So Airavata took the garland and then threw it on the ground. Durvasa took it as an offense. Durvasa took it as an offense. So Durvasa said that this is such a precious garland which I had offered to Indra with respect, but Indra didn't understand the value. Airavata didn't understand the value, and it threw it on the ground. So I curse that all the gods and the heavenly bounties will lose their luster, will lose their values, will lose their energy. So this was the curse given by Durvasa to Indra. Indra pleaded. Indra pleaded. But Durvasa said, look, I am not like the other rishis. It is the other rishis who have made you so arrogant by giving you boons, but I am not like other rishis. Or maybe like you have not taken with humility the advice of the boons of other rishis. But I am not going to compromise. And once I have cursed, I have cursed it. So eventually, what happened? Gods in the heaven started losing their uh, strength, and they started not just losing their uh, strength, they also started losing all the riches which they had. So all riches they started losing, their own strength they started losing. So what is to be done? And Daityas took advantage of it. Danavas took advantage of it, finding that the gods are uh, energy less, they are powerless. So they attacked them, and gods were defeated by the Daityas. And they all went to Brahma. Then, with the request of a Brahma, they all went to Vishnu. This is how Vishnu advised them that let's have Amrit to regain our strength permanently. We need to have Amrit. But how the Amrit has to be extracted? Where from the Amrit will come? So Vishnu said, and he advised that look, have a compromise with the Daityas. All gods, you all gods, and having compromised with the Daityas because it is going to be a very Herculean task where the Daityas are also needed. You cannot achieve the result without taking the help of the Daityas. We will discuss about the symbolism of all these things moving ahead. So the gods went to the Daityas and then took them in confidence. And then how the Amrit has to be extracted. So Vishnu said that bring all the herbs, all the oshadhis, mahoshadhis, whatever is available on the earth, wherever it is available, bring all of them and then throw it into the ocean. And we will churn all these oshadhis. And from these oshadhis, the Amrit will come. Now you see, Samudra Manthan is the beginning of the story of Ayurveda. Now, after the churning, the Devata of Ayurveda, Dhanvantari, comes with the Amrita Kalasha. And we do worship Dhanvantari as the god of Ayurveda. So the yogis look at it from a different angle. The poets look at it from a different angle. The common men look at it from different angles. The story is so profound that everyone has something to do with Samudra Manthan. It has something to contribute towards every aspect of life. The churning was not just an external churning of the herbs. Now you see, the different characters there also need to be taken into consideration for evaluation. Now the herbs are the main ingredients. They're thrown into the ocean. Then the Mandara Parvata, Mandara mountain, becomes the churning stick. Vasuki, the Sarpa, the Ananta, which holds the entire creation on its head, becomes the churning rope. And the churning takes place. And there is an interesting element here also, like Vishnu first went and then caught hold of Vasuki's head. Then the Asuras were not happy. The Asuras said that we will not hold the tail side because it is inauspicious. And Vishnu knew, like if he had gone first to the tail side, the Asuras would have claimed the tail side. This is how the Asuric forces, the negative mind works. That you look at, okay, maybe like why Vishnu is holding or Devatas are holding to that side. So maybe there is some more benefit. So they said that no, it is inauspicious, we will not do. So simply the gods were turned to the tail side and the Asuras were sent to the front side. And being on the front side, on the mouth side of Vasuki, is truly challenging. And it is the halahala which came out of Vasuki's mouth. When the churning happened, the stress which happened, which spread all over. And all those who were in front, so they had to tolerate the heat, the first contact. Hello. Uh, was there a glitch? Okay. So I said that all those who are in the front, they have to bear the uh, impact of this poison, the impact of that heat. So asuras are capable of doing that because they have that strength. So we also need the asuric strength in our physical. There's a beautiful prayer by Sri Aurobindo called Durga Stotra, where he says, Hey Mata, O Divine Mother, Dehi Sharire Asurasya Balam. Given this physical, the strength of the Asuras, Hrudaye Deva Bhava, and in the heart, the Deva Bhava. What a beautiful prayer. That we need that Asuric strength in the physical being. The physical being has to be as strong as possible, as strong as the Vajra, as strong as the, uh, the Asuras, so that it can bear everything. It has the titiksha in it to tolerate, to endure every attack that happens at the physical level. That's why the Asuras were given the uh, very uh, important task of being on the front. So the churning happened, and initially the kurma was not at the base. So during the churning, when the Mandara Parvata, it started sinking, then Vishnu had to save it. Vishnu is the savior, he is the preserver. It is his responsibility to save, protect, preserve, sustain. So that's what is the power of Vishnu. That is why for all our sustenance, to make everything sustainable, so the force of Vishnu has to be invoked. That's why the Vishnu Sahasranama is the most powerful stuti, invoking the different qualities of Vishnu through the 1,000 names. So then we are well protected. We have the power to sustain, to move ahead. So Vishnu takes the Kachapa avatar and then comes under the Mandara mountain and stabilizes the Mandara Parvata. No sinking happens and the churning goes on. And we all know from the churning, many ratnas, many gems, many precious objects which came up. And at the end, we had the Amrita Kalasa. At the end, we had the Amrita. Now, the different texts describe these different gems or different precious objects, and the objects belonging to different worlds. Objects belonging to the physical world, the objects belonging to the animal world, the objects belonging to the human world, to the to various world, to Gandharva Loka, to the Devaloka. So various objects, precious objects which came out of it. And that is a description of 14 Ratnas which emerged from the ocean, the churning of the ocean. And it's true that whenever there is churning, something what comes out, it cannot be just good, because churning is churning. When you churn anything, the good and bad both will come out. The negative and positive both will come out. So the Visha and Amrita both will come out. The Visha and Amrita, they are two extreme ends. On one end, you find Visha, poison. The other end, you find its solution, the Amrita. That's why in the Gita, you will see the two paths described. The path of Shreyas and path of prayers, what finds place in the Kathopanishad, is elaborated here in the Gita, which says that the path of prayers looks good in the beginning, because it's all about our sensual pleasure, what we enjoy in the world, the worldly enjoyment. It looks good, it gives little happiness. But it says pariname vishopamam. The parinam, the end result of that is visha, poison. But the path of Shreyas is difficult, extremely difficult. It will not give any happiness or easiness in the beginning. But Gita says, pariname amrutopam. The end result is amrita. The end result is amrita. So you have these two extreme ends, Visha and Amrita. So in some texts, you will find the first thing which came out of this churning was Visha, the halahala, the kala puta. So it is halahala, not halal. Don't mistake it. Yeah. So halahala is the kala puta Visha is intolerable. It spreads and everyone is tormented by that. It's unbearable. There's no one who can bear halahala Visha. And it spreads like anything. What is to be done? Everyone is tormented. Again, prayers and invocations, approaching the God, approaching the highest power, approaching the Savior. See, whenever there is a danger, the only protection is the invocation of the divine. The divine is the only protection. Because every step we have the unknown before us. Every step we have the unknown before us. There is a danger lies. And the only protection is to carry the divine in the heart all the times. And look at our tradition, look at our Sanatana Dharma, look at various stories. Whenever there is some danger, even the gods to whom we pray, even the gods, they approach a higher power than themselves, because they also have realized that there is a higher power which has created these divine beings. So all the beings, all the divine beings, including, everyone, like human beings, the Daityas and Danavas, all pranis, all creatures, tormented by this halahala, they approach to Shiva for protection. And then Shiva being Asutosha, Shiva being Shambhu, Shankara. He cannot see any harm happening to the creation. Although he is the destroyer, but he is the doer of good, Shankara. He cannot bear anything wrong going with the world. So he extends his helping hand and absorbs all the poison into himself, brings all poison so that the world is saved. That is what is the greatest divine quality that all the gurus you see, all the gurus, they drink the halahala, they drink the poison, they take all the sufferings, miseries, and bad karma of all their disciples into themselves. They suffer. Look at what happened to Ramakrishna. Look at what happened to Sri Aurobindo. Look at what happened to Ramana Maharshi. Look at what kind of suffering many gurus had. It is to save their own disciples, their own anugamis, followers. So Shiva takes all suffering, all poison into it himself. It is his decision and he drinks it. And there is a story also like Parvati got hold of his throat so then it doesn't um, sink down. That's how. So everything is concentrated on the throat, and this is how Shiva is known as Nilakantha. Nilakantha, the blue throat, blue throat. Shiva saved the whole world by drinking the poison. Shiva saved the whole world by placing Ganga on his head. Shiva also lost the moon on his head because of the curse of Durvasa. Now that also has to be regained. That's how you have the emergence of Chandra from the ocean. So then he gets back the Chandra on his head. So now the poison, the first result, but if you look at, say, go to Vishnu Purana, so it doesn't give that poison came first. So it gives that Kamadhenu came first. So if you prepare the list of the things and then put them in order, so it doesn't tally with, like all the texts. So the ordering of the items vary from text to text. So one can order those things, put in order, depending upon what one wants to achieve. So, but if we look at these two extreme ends, two extreme poles, the North Pole and South Pole, or the Visha and Amrita, the Devas and Asuras, so it's very apt to think that the poison came first, because when we throw something, and from the deeper inner significance point of view, the whole subconscious world, our entire consciousness, if you look at it, there is a apraketam salilam. This is how the Veda describes apraketam salilam. That means the subconscious world. There are two great oceans which are described: the ocean of subconscious and the ocean of superconscious. You can link it with the Visha and Amrita, Asuras and Devas. Okay. So now everything is stored in the subconscious. So when you have the sadhana, the moment, so this is a very practical example and the practical experience of everyone. The moment you decide not to get angry, you will find all occasions on that day to get angry. all excuses to get angry. Okay. You decide to do meditation, sit in meditation that I want peace. But where is the peace? All unpeaceful situations will arrive in your mind. And you say that, my God, closing eyes is really, really difficult, not possible. Then people think of, okay, open eyes meditation. Let's do it, open eye meditation. But whether eyes closed or eyes open, that doesn't matter. What's happening inside? That's important. What's happening? Someone asked the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram that how, like, how can I sit in meditation? I find my colleagues, my co-sadhaks, sitting for hours together and I can't even sit for few seconds, few minutes. So the mother said, no, no, don't worry. Sitting for a few hours or few minutes or longer period, that doesn't decide whether someone is meditating truly or not. You have to see what's happening inside. There are many people who sit in the meditation mudra, but so many things going on which have nothing to do with bringing peace into the consciousness, peace into the mind. And many people get up after meditation with a heavy head. And mostly people meditating, when they come out of the meditation room and then mingle with the world, you can see the level of irritation that they have. Someone pushes, someone touches, someone says something. Oh, you broke my peace. These people will never allow you to live in peace. See, I came out of the meditation room. I was so peaceful. This fellow disturbed me. That fellow disturbed me. This incident disturbed me. They're more disturbed than more peaceful. And someone said very rightly that if the very honking sound of a horn can disturb your peace, then what kind of peace you have settled within yourself? If very little noise outside can disturb your peace, then what kind of peace you have settled within yourself? You should learn to remain peaceful and undisturbed in all situations. Then, so that is the kind of stability that one has to hold within one's own consciousness. This is where the Bhagavan has to take the Kurma avatar. Why Kurma avatar? Why Kurma has to hold the mandala? Why Kurma gives that stability? Now you see, in the Gita, there is a beautiful description of Kurmo Angani Sarvasha. Look at this example. It is the stability will come to anyone. The stability in the consciousness will come to anyone when one is well indrawn, withdrawn within oneself. Kurmo Angani Sarvasha. The moment we have our senses moving out, which is the very natural nature, innate nature of all the indriyas, unrefined indriyas. As the Kathopanishad says, Paranchi Khani Vyatrunat. It means like all our senses, the doors of all our senses are open outward. That's why we see what is happening out. What is happening, the sound, sense, thoughts, anything which is external. And we enjoy the external world through the senses. And we are not aware of the dangers. But what needs to be learned from the Kurma is that the moment there is a single signal of danger, it immediately observes itself within itself and becomes completely stable without any disturbance. Places itself like a dead cell, dead body. That is the kind of stability one has to complete withdrawal from any external engagement at that time of danger. Not always. It should not lead towards the kind of, the orthodox vairagya that, oh, the world is. Whenever there is you have to be in the world. You have to enjoy the world. There's no uh, dilemma about it. There shouldn't be any dilemma about it. We have to be in the world because the world is created for enjoyment. But in that enjoyment, we have to see where there lies the danger. The moment there is a signal, immediately we have to wait, right? But the usual nature of what? We do not consider danger as danger. We consider danger as something to be enjoyed externally. And we keep enjoying the world. There may be some temporal happiness, yes, very temporal, but next moment it is gone. It becomes our suffering. Our happiness becomes translated into our suffering. We do not understand that. But Kurma has that innate quality of understanding the signal, and immediately it observes itself within itself. That alone, Indriya Nigraha, without having control over the senses, without having control over the mind, one can never attain to any kind of peaceful situation, any kind of strength which can sustain oneself. So many people sit in meditation or practice meditation without Indriya Nigraha, without, you know, Atma Sanstha Mana, without fixing the mind into the Atman, into oneself, within oneself. So this in-gathering, withdrawing oneself, is the best quality that is to be learned from the Kurma. And then it gives us the stability, gives us the eternal peace, eternal happiness. Eternal peace and eternal happiness, they are together. If you have eternal peace, you have eternal happiness. So now look at the story part. The Kachapa becomes the base which holds everything, holds the main route. Without it, things will not move. The work of churning will not happen. That's one thing that we need to remember. In the ocean of subconscious, and the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram once said, when she was asked that when so much of spiritual sadhana and so much of spiritual power is there in the gurus, why, like even in the stories of devas and asuras, how the asuras become so powerful, how the negativity becomes, excessively prevalent in the world. So uh, the mother said, like the world of subconscious, that ocean, is such that you shake it or you throw something into it, little bit, and then you have a surge of, negativity which comes out of it, like the poison. So the moment you hit your subconscious, you can see that all that is stored there, all the negative aspects of it, everything will come out, emerge first. So when you throw something into, say, for example, a pond, so all the kachara will come out. You know, that's how it happens. The world of subconscious, the apaketa salila, is like that. So the negative energies, the negative elements will emerge when the churning happens. When someone throws something into that ocean. So that's how the poison comes. The first negativity. And this is the churning. The moment you sit to churn yourself, do the mantra. What happened the whole day? I sit, reflect, and do the mantra. And then you see all the negative things. Then you see all kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, everything. They become so vivid in front, almost intolerable. Then we have the excuse of avoiding those things and let's engage in some other work, which is good. One tries to become rid of it in a different way, but that's not the solution, permanent solution. See, sometimes what happens uh, in my family also, like when I call my wife and then I said like, oh, what are you doing? I'm ironing clothes. Acha, since when? No, from 10 o'clock, now it's 12. But for 2 hours, we are just ironing. So what happened to you that you decided to iron the clothes or do something? See, we understand each other that, see, if I am not happy with something and I want to channelize my energy somewhere else, I start cleaning utensils, I start cleaning my clothes, cleaning my house. And my wife has this tendency of, okay, ironing the clothes. So we know each other, we understand each other that there is something very strongly happening from where we need to get rid of. And those are the moments of manthan. It's not just working, but while, diverting ourselves from something, to avoid something, to get rid of something. It is not that we are just pushing it back somewhere. We have to work on them. We have to have victory over them. And the victory will not happen unless and until the manthan is proper. We have to keep doing this manthan until we have discovered the amrit. Whatever the effort, because it's a Herculean task, it has to continue. There's a beautiful Subhashita in Sanskrit. It is based on this Samudra Manthan, and a beautiful message that we can derive from this. Someone thought about it and wrote about it. He says, Ratnair Maharhair Tutushur Deva. From the churning of the ocean, Maharharatna, you have Uchesravas, you have Airavata, you have Lakshmi, you have Chandramas, you have Kamadhenu, you have Kaustuva, you have Sarangadhan, you have all kinds of riches which one can think of, that they're the greatest riches. You have the Apsaras, which went to the Gandharva Lokas. But were the gods happy with all these Maharharatnas? No. It says Ratner Maharhai Tutushurna Deva. The Devas were not happy, not satisfied with Maharharatna. Nabhe jire bhitim bhima vishena bhitim. And when this poison, the intense great halahala came out, the kala kuta came out, were they afraid of it? Did they run away? No. Nabhe jire bhima vishena bhitim. They were not afraid of the kala kuta. They didn't run away. They didn't stop the work of churning. They knew that yes, this is a part of it. It has to emerge. It has to be handled. There will be the divine protection. Let's make effort towards that. And we will achieve surely. That's how Shiva comes to help. So, Ratnair Maharhai Tutushurna Deva. They were not satisfied with all the greatest gems, precious objects. Nabhe jire bhima vishena bhitim. They were not afraid. They didn't run away with the Kalakuta. Sudham vina na prayayur viramam. Their only aspiration, all their energies were directed towards the attainment of that one single thing, Amrita. That one pointed concentration, that dedication, that intense and pure single aspiration can change the whole circumstance. Sudham vina, without attaining to Sudha, Sudha is another word for Amrita. So Sudham vina na prayayur viramam. They never, took rest until they attained to Amrita. Na nishchitarthat viramanti dhira. Those who are dhiras, those who carry within them those divine qualities, those who have that sthirata, those who have that intense divine aspiration, can never run away, can never stop in between until they achieve the goal. So that's why, the clarion call of Swami Vivekananda, stop not till the goal is achieved. This is the message from this journey. And in the journey, now you see that there is something which needs to be at the top. Now, in the churning also, you see there are many tempting objects which are appearing. The Maharatna spine. Devas were not tempted by this. Neither the Asuras were tempted by this. Otherwise, they also would have got something and then satisfied. Because they were with the Devas. So when the Asuras are with Devas, like it is the victory of the Daivik Shakti, Daivi Shakti. The Asuras were also like whatever was happening to the Devas was happening with the Asuras also. In this Herculean task, they participated from the beginning to the end. From the beginning to the end. Because of the divine presence, because of the Daivi Shakti. Ultimately, the Daivi Shakti takes over. In the presence of the divine, in the presence of the supreme grace, all the negative forces, they have to just become slave and then work as per the commandment of the Devas, Devi Shakti. That's what was happening. So not to be tempted by anything. And when there is Visha and Amrita, and in between there are so many tempting things. So anyone would lose one's intensity in the aspiration. So when we do the churning at a personal level also, like in our consciousness, in refining our consciousness, in the act of refinement of our consciousness, in the act of bringing peace and happiness into our and stability into our consciousness, in the act of educating ourselves, refining ourselves, bringing the Shuddhata and Sanskar within the consciousness, in every aspect of consciousness. What has to be kept at the center is the Viveka Buddhi. That's how Vishnu is sitting on the Mandara Parvata, the Viveka Buddhi. The highest faculty which is given, which is placed in the human consciousness. That is where we decide. The Viveka Buddhi is also in the Veda, it is known as Dakshina. Dakshina means the Daksha, the ability to discern, the ability to discern. Okay. So the discernment has to be at the center, at the top. The churning happens, like most of the times we do the churning, but we are not able to reach at a point where we can decide what is to be followed, what is not to be followed. We do the churning and then again we become normal and then follow whatever our normal consciousness is, uh, you know, uh, guiding us, or we are guided by our ordinary consciousness. The lack of viveka buddhi. So if the viveka buddhi is kept at the center, then the churning gives us the right result. The churning gives us the right result. Now you see, I gave you in the beginning that every branch of knowledge, every aspect of our life has its own root in this profound story of Samudra Manthan. Life itself is the Samudra. The consciousness itself is Samudra. As I told you that the two extreme Samudras, one is at the subconscious level, the Praketa Salila, and then you have the Praketa Salila, the superconscious, the superconscious ocean. Okay, so one has to get rid of this Apraketa Salila and attain to this superconscious ocean, the highest ocean that we have. And in that, everyone has a share. Like in the churning of the ocean of the story, you will see that asuras also have their share, Varuni, the intoxicating element, goes to the asuras. Something like Lakshmi goes to Vishnu, Kaustubha Mani, Sarangadhanu, they go to Vishnu, Chandrama goes to Shiva. So the Devas and the Asuras, so they have their right share. But when it comes to the Amrita, who has the eligibility to get a drop of Amrita? Everyone does the effort, but everyone doesn't get the result. We say that, oh, I did so much of, work, hard work, but where is the result? And so that's why, the Gita says, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhai. Among thousands and thousands of people, kaschit, someone, does effort to attain to siddhi. Yatatam api siddha. Even all those who are endeavored for the attainment of siddhi. Kaschin mam vitti tattvata. Someone rarely attains to me. And Krishna at the highest is Amrita, is the Madhura, Madhuradhipati. So, who is eligible? Even though the Asuras had the equal effort, equal, energy, they also have invested in churning the ocean. But the Asuric forces do not deserve to get the Amrita. Why? It is again feeding the negative forces and then making them stronger, which is of no use in the world for doing anything good. So that is why, very carefully, the decision of Vishnu taking the Mohini Rupa and then distributing the Amrita only to the Devas. because they are the eligible ones to get a drop of Amrita, not the Asuras. So as long as we fall into the trap of the Asuric forces, forget about the eternal peace and the eternal happiness. However great one sadhak may be, however great one's own guru may be, however great one's own spiritual tradition may be, however great an ashram may be, the place may be, but as long as one carries within oneself the negative forces, the asuric forces, one is not eligible to get the Amrita. One will still get deluded till the end, get deluded by the Mohini, get tempted by the Mohini. The Mohini comes in different forms. It's not just a beautiful woman, it can come in any form. So if one wants to get tempted, then and people say Sri Aurobindo has a very beautiful aphorism where he says, if a woman has tempted you, is it your fault or it is hers? Anything which tempts us, we put the blame, like it is because that thing appeared. So we always put the blame on others, not on ourselves. Or of the woman. This is where the Viveka has to be there at the center. That one has to be very careful. Maintain the purity till the end. They was maintained. The Mohini was there in front of the Devas also, in front of the Asuras also. But the Devas maintained their purity, maintained that till the goal is achieved, they have to keep trying and then being on the track. And still, the Asuric forces will find their ways into the team of the Devas. That's what happened when Rahu decided to sit in the row of the Devas. It's very subtle, it's very powerful. Asuric forces one cannot have control unless and until that ultimate Suddhata is there. Still, an Asura comes to the line of the Devas, living its own community, deceiving. But all those who are Jagrata, see the moon and sun who located Rahu. Like in the story, you find that the sun and moon, they saw Rahu sitting, they informed, and that's how Rahu takes revenge on them on the Grahana, Amavasya and Purnima. So the Surya Grahana and the Chandrapara, which happens, the eclipse, and sun and moon, that thing is put on Rahu. So what do the sun and moon they represent? Jagrata Prahari, constant vigilance. Constant vigilance is something which can save us by informing us. We will be in a position to see whenever there is an entry of any negative force into our consciousness. Constant vigilance. And this constant vigilance is represented by sun and moon, Surya and Chandra. They were capable of locating Rahu and informing. So in sadhana, in doing churning, it is not that we just become concentrated on our work of churning. At the same time, our eyes have to be wide open to see. We have to remain in a state of constant vigilance to see the entry of these negative forces into our consciousness. One single entry can destroy the whole effort. Just imagine if Rahu was not located and the Amrita had gone into Rahu. One Asura could have destroyed the entire thing. So a single entry of a negative force can, like we have, you do the whole sadhana for years and years and years, and suddenly one entry of a negative force, it destroys everything. Then you become a yoga bhrashta. Become a yoga bhrashta. Lives after lives, one does sadhana, and like Tulsidas said, na janamu janamu muni jatanu karai, antaram kahi avatana. So the lives after lives, one makes effort. But at the end, when it is needed, it doesn't come onto the lips. The Bhagavat Nam, the constant remembrance. So one has to be in a state of absolute vigilance. And then, so we see that this Samudra Manthan, this story, is the root of many, many aspects of our life. I gave you the example of like how by the Ayurveda acharyas, Samudra Manthan is taken as the source of Ayurveda, where from Dhanvantari comes. Similarly, in the yoga tradition, there is a beautiful um, um, text called Uma Sahasram, which was composed by Vasishtha Kavyakantha Ganapati Muni, who was the foremost disciple of Ramana Maharshi. So in these 1,000 verses dedicated to Goddess Uma, he actually he wrote this poem as a Guru Dakshina. What he received from uh, Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. So he offered it to the Guru as a Guru Dakshina, Uma Sahasram. And the entire Kavya, Uma Sahasram, was dictated by Ramana Maharshi to Ganapati Muni in silence. When it was completed, Ramana Maharshi asked, "Is everything noted, whatever I dictated?" Said yes. This is how the Guru's blessings get translated through the Shishya. Like you see Uma Sahasram as a tangible product, which has manifested through the Shishya and coming directly from the Guru. And in that, there is a description of Samudra Manthan, the deeper significance of Samudra Manthan. With this description, I will end my deliberation. So, where very beautifully Ganapati Muni explains the inner meaning of Samudra Manthan. And here he links it with yoga, yoga sadhana. So there are two verses which are described in Uma Sahasram. The verses are like this: Prana Shariram, Mandara Shailo, Mula Sarojam, Kachaparaja, Purnamanantam Kshira Samudra, Prushtagavina, Vasukirajju. This is the description of the inner significance of Samudra Manthan. And then the second verse, he continues saying, Dakshina Nadi Nirjara Sena, Vama Ganadi Danava Sena, Shakti Vilaso Manthana Krityam, Shirshaja Dhara Kapi Sudhukta. So sometimes these verses, all those who are not familiar with the language and the philosophy, sometimes it's may sound like something unknown, but sometimes because they have got the mantric power, so all sincere people can find that okay, I'm listening to something which has something deep within it, but I do not understand. Okay. So that's a good feeling. But my responsibility is to explain you word by word what do these two verses mean, where lies the deeper significance of Samudra Manthan from the yogic perspective. So the first verse, which says Prana Sariram Mandara Shailo and Mula Sarojam Kachaparajam. So it explains, it says that this Prana Sharira, this living body, is the Mandara Shailo, means it is the mountain Mandara. So you compare this whole living body into the Mandara Parvata. The body charged with the prana, living body. And Mula Saroja Kachaparaja. The base, Mula Saroja means the lotus at the base. Mula Saroja, the Mooladhara Chakra. Okay, which gives stability, which is connected with the earth element, which stabilizes everything. Okay, which brings Thirata, is the tortoise, the Kachaparaja. And then Purna, Purnam Anantam Kshira Samudra. This infinite sky, Purna Ananta, is the Milky Ocean. And where is this infinite sky? From the yogic perspective, you see that infinite sky within what is described as the Dahara Akasha, the, the little space that one carries within oneself, Dahara Akasha. So the infinite sky, the space, Purna Ananta, is the Milky Ocean. So that is the Kshira Samudra. And then Prushthaga Veena Vasukiraju. And in the Samudra Manthana, you find that rope as Vasuki. So here, the spinal cord, the Prushthaga Veena, because our Merudanda is seen as a Veena. In fact, the Veena, the design of the Veena, the musical instrument is designed, is like has that image of the design of the Merudanda. So Prushthaga Veena is the Rajju, is the Vasuki. Now, the second verse, which says, the Dakshina Nadi, the right nerve channel, Dakshina Nadi, which is known as Pingala, is the symbolic army of gods, Nirjara Sena. And the left nerve channel, the Vamaga Nadi, which is also known as the Ida. So you have the Ida and the Pingala Nadi. That symbolizes the Danavas, the Danava Sena. You have Nirjara Sena and the Danava Sena. And the play of Shakti. So what is known as Shakti Vilasu, Manthana Pratyam. The play of Shakti is the Manthana Krida, the churning. The whole effort of churning is the act of churning of the ocean is the Manthana Kritya. So that is the Shakti Vilasa. So in the Yoga Sadhana, you have the Shakti Vilasa, the Shakti plays, where the whole creation is meant for play. And the flow, the dhara of light and delight from the head lotus, Sahasrara, Sirshaja, is the nectar, is the Sudha. So now you see the Ida, Pingala, and Sushomana, and what happens in the yoga practice, in the pranayama practice, and ultimately the Amrita flowing from the Sahasrara. Okay, Sahasrara. So that is the ultimate gain. And this is where you find the deeper inner meaning of the churning of the ocean in the Uma Sahasram of Vasishta Kavya Kantha Ganapati Muni. And this exercise of churning uh, goes on in every yogin who has given himself to the practice of Sri Vidya in the Sri Vidya tradition. Vasishta Ganapati Muni was a Sri Vidya Upasaka, and then from his own experience, he is saying this. So in which the body becomes the churning rod and the Mooladhara This is where the operation begins. Look at the churning has to begin on the Kachaparaja. So right at the beginning, the whole operation has to begin, start. So the Mooladhara on which the operation begins is the tortoise of the legend. And the heart space, the Dharakasa, the wide expanse on which the churning takes place, is the Milky Ocean, the Kshira Samudra. And the spinal column, shaped like a veena, that acts as the rope to turn the rod round and round and round. This is the serpent Vasuki. Then the subtle nerve channel known as Pingala, situated on the right to Sushumna. Sushumna is the central nerve channel. In its action extends force of gods. The Sushumna always releases the positive energy. The subtle nerve channel known as Ida, situated on the left of Sushumna, that extends the action of the titans, much energy. So the flashing play of Yoga Shakti, the Shakti Vilasa, is the art of churning, and the flow of bliss, the Amrita, from the Sahasrara, is the final reward. This is what happens in the life of a yogi, life of the sadhana of a yogi. There is a constant experience, realization of this Amrita in the yogi who does the sadhana of, channelizing one's own energy through the Ida Pingala and realizes and then takes it upward through the Sushumna, and then there is the flow of the door opens and there is the flow of the Amrita Dhara from the Sahasrara. So this is Samudra Manthan, the inner Samudra Manthan of a yogi. This is a beautiful symbolic meaning given in the Uma Sahasram. So friends, in our daily life, whatever field we may belong to, in all situations, so we experience this manthan. It keeps happening to every one of us. If we are aware, if we are constantly vigilant of ourselves, we can see these different forces acting within us. We can see not just the action of these forces, we can remain detached from these forces, just to observe what they're working and how they're working, instead of giving ourselves to any force. And then ultimately, by the power of our Vivek Shakti, we decide that we need to be always on the path of the Shreyas. Though the path is difficult, we need to be on the side of the Devas. We need to constantly invoke the divine forces, the divine blessings for protection. But at the same time, we need not neglect the Asuric forces, but that Asuric forces we have to, trap in our physical aspect where we have that Asuric strength to bear all the divine forces. See what happens, the flow of many blessings, the divine Shakti can enter into the yogin or the sadhaks. But if the sadhak is physically weak, cannot bear the force. So that is why the asuras also have to be kept with with the devas. So then there is the strength to bear the uh, divine force, the divine flow, the divine energy which rushes into our being. So at every moment, we have this challenge in life. What we need, the mantra, what we need is to maintain our intensity, maintain our purity, maintain our sincerity. What we need to do, maintain our vigilance like Surya and Chandra. What we need to do is with intense aspiration, that single pointed aspiration, not to deviate from it. whatever happens. And what we need to do is to keep endeavoring and not deviating from the path, from the endeavor, not running away, but continue our endeavor till we have achieved the goal. Sudham Vinam, na prayayur viramam. So Sudha, the Amrita, is the goal. Amrita in parallels is the Ananda. So Amrita and Ananda both are synonymous. That is the eternal happiness. That is the ultimate goal towards which all our efforts have to be directed. And the result is sure. That is what we learn from the story, that Amrita did appear. The Devas did get their chance of observing that Amrita, taking into themselves. So there is surety when we march forward with certitude, with confidence, with sincerity, with devotion, with one pointedness in our aspiration, with purity in our aspiration. The end result is sure. And